So for this talk, I'm delighted to introduce you to Mr. Marcus Shingles. Marcus is a longtime ITU friend. Marcus was the CEO of XPRIZE. XPRIZE, the company that helped ITU launch AI for Good back in 2017. Now Marcus works at Exponential Destiny. He's the co-founder and CEO. And I'm very pleased to invite you to come on stage, Marcus.
Thank you. I got it. Hi, everybody. And thank you for helping me organize. You and the rest of the team have been great. Hope everybody's doing well. Just by a little bit of way of background, I actually came from the management consulting industry. I was a partner at Deloitte Consulting and an executive at Bain, focused on innovation. The only reason I share that with you is what I'm going to show with you right now. I'm actually asking if some of you can help me. I'd volunteer my time on this nonprofit that I run. I founded it with a group of young people from low-income communities. So the whole leadership team is primarily from South Central Los Angeles. And the reason we're doing this is we are certain that there's an opportunity to transform education, especially in low-income schools, using technology that recently emerged and hit an inflection point. So there's nothing commercial. I'm not positioning anything. I'm not even promoting the metaverse. I think the metaverse sucks, except when you use it for education, actually. So we'll talk about that. And I'm going to show you case study data. I'm going to show you research and efficacy data. And if any of you would like to partner with us, please let me know. As I mentioned, this is my leadership team. Usually they're here with me presenting. They're actually back in California. We're doing a project with the Getty Museum. And we have a team also in Africa as well. This was us literally in this space a year ago. We presented on the main stage here in Geneva. We launched a big competition with the support of the ITU. And specifically where we focus is how can you use XR, augmented reality, virtual reality technologies to transform education, also to build empathy and awareness around social causes like the SDGs, and as a way to upskill individuals into new economy jobs by teaching them to be metaverse and VR designers. And now we're incorporating CHAT-GPT. I'm going to give you very specific examples of how we're doing that today in low-income communities and schools. The BBC recently did an article on the upskilling that we're doing with the team at Exponential Destiny. So like I said, this is a school in West Side Chicago. We did a big project for them. We literally go into these schools with 30 headsets. Meta, Facebook, donated 400 headsets to our nonprofit. We use those to go into schools, and over a 4 to 6 month effort, we help them with a behavioral change management exercise using the metaverse, because it's more of a behavioral change exercise than it is a technical exercise. And we're going to share with you the types of results through these case studies that have emerged. So the metaverse, it's kind of on its hype cycle. Like I said, we're not pro-metaverse. We're not even pro-virtual reality in a general sense. We're very specific to this use case because we also realize there's societal risks. When you go into a high school and expose 14 and 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds to VR and metaverse, you have the problem that you might just get them addicted like 15 years ago, like introducing them to social media. So we don't think it's necessarily a good thing to go in and just exploit metaverse and VR and get it into schools unless it's being used for very specifically looking at learning and education. Now, I'm going to show you the efficacy data, but common sense tells you that people learn by doing. Show me, don't tell me is what we hear from students. This gives the opportunity for teachers to create experiences and have a mindset of abundance in terms of how they teach versus scarcity, because now they have unlimited digital assets to create. And the skill set to create curriculum in virtual reality has become democratized from a cost perspective where the software is free, and the skill set is a 3D PowerPoint skill set. It's non-coding to create these environments now. So I want to share with you some empirical data that interested me, that made me pursue this with the rest of my team. Specifically, this is a study from PricewaterhouseCoopers done in 2020. Okay, some of you might have seen this study. It's pretty astonishing. What PricewaterhouseCoopers did was they took a cohort of classroom learners, online learners, and VR learners, and they had them all learn the same subject matter, and then they compared the efficacy data of those 3 types of learning. These were the results in 2020. A VR learner in a headset was 4 times faster to learn than in a classroom. A VR learner in a headset was 275% improved confidence in being able to act on what they learned, retain knowledge, versus a classroom. 3.75 times more emotionally connected and 4 times more focused than e-learning peers. These statistics aren't incremental, they're exponential, right? Do these interest you as much as they interested me? These are phenomenal. Now, the other thing phenomenal is this study was published in 2020 using 2019 technology. The cost to do this in 2019 would cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Today, it could cost you a few hundred. To create the environments required technical coding. Now a 19-year-old can do it with an art degree. And the cost to deploy and scale is feasible even for a low-income school. Now, the only thing about this study was this was done for corporate trainers. So what we wanted to explore was, could you get these results in a low-income, under-marginalized school environment? Even an incremental, not even exponential, would be significant, correct? That's what our nonprofit does. We were passionate about saying, could we take this back into South Central Los Angeles schools, Chicago, schools in Africa, and get similar results? So we consider ourselves researchers to see if we can reproduce new educational pedagogies around learning in VR, particularly for that demographic. So the question, I'm going to take a drink of water here. Now, being a practitioner at Bain and Deloitte, I've learned some design thinking concepts, professional concepts that we incorporate. So for example, not only do we call it immersive, we don't call it VR training, we call it immersive and experiential methods of learning, but we include edutainment, so educational things that are entertaining, because that's what you can do in VR with special effects and telling stories. Gamification and game theory. You can make it into a game while you're in VR, scavenger hunts, Jeopardy, Monopoly. You can do very interesting things. And we wanted to see if students are more engaged in the learning. Can we create new curriculum? Can we imagine education? And then lately, how does generative AI work today in a classroom? Not in a few years, but how can you start to incorporate it today? I'm going to share with you the results and actually some work that we did. As I mentioned, in 2019, you could not do this. But now it being 2023, it's feasible to do this even in a low-income community, okay? I will tell you, too, that some of the young people on my team from South Central LA, when we started this, I brought them onto commercial projects I was doing, so with businesses. And we upskilled a 20-year-old, his name was Juan, to where he quit his job at Target stores stocking shelves to take a job with one of our clients that we did a project for, a cosmetics company, making a professional salary. And he was 20 years old without a college degree from a low-income school because he was one of the first. So we started to notice when you see a trend like this, the metaverse, even going through its hype curve, now is the time to educate people on how to create in these environments to make them relevant. We're not a big advocate of coding. As you can see, I've been saying for years, AI will do most of the coding. You're going to have to be a pretty exceptional student if you're going to get a job coding in the next 5 years in coding. So we think schools should focus more on this type of new way of communicating in virtual reality and metaverse. The other thing is AI was never used in the classroom in 2019. You don't see any classroom, public high schools that are using AI. And then of course today with CHAT-GPT, it's been democratized and it's abundant. So this was the inflection point that we're literally trying to capitalize on. So the research we've been doing over the last several years, before Metaverse got popular, we were doing this, okay? We've done work with all these schools. These are very in-depth 6-month projects where we go in, we bring in 30 headsets, we take the teachers, the administrators, the students, and we do this whole methodology to help them go through this process. In addition, we have some international work that we've done. Specifically, this is the room next door. This was last year. My team and I presented on the Metaverse at the ITU Summit. And specifically, we launched an educational upskilling initiative called the Metaverse for SDGs, Global Prize in VR competition. Now, why did we do this with the support of the ITU? Well, as you saw, this data, imagine if you could apply that level of education, empathy, and awareness to the SDGs. and create environments in VR that teach the SDGs rather than learning them on a website or reading about them. So we launched a competition. We essentially crowdsourced the model. We asked anyone in the world to compete by creating a team and build an environment. And we spent over a year with a massive training that we did online for free, upskilling about 1,200 people from all over the world, from 70 countries, to then create environments and submit them to us around the SDG that they were passionate about, to try to create a metaverse around the SDGs to build that education, awareness, and empathy. That was the competition. The real goal was to teach them a new skill set and just find better ways to create empathy around the SDGs. I'll show you an example of one of the finalist teams from Africa at the end of this presentation. And then we had $200,000 we raised from these sponsors to give out as prize money to those teams as an incentive. And that competition just ended, and we're going to be making the awards later this year. In New York City at the UN about 2 months ago, we announced the finalists at the UN STI, Science, Technology, and Innovation Summit, my team and I did. Again, we had 70 countries participate. Rwanda, some of the participants in the competition could not afford headsets, so we donated headsets to places all over the world. This is the headsets that we donated in Africa. They got out to students in Africa that created an environment. Like I said, you'll see that experience in a minute. But we also went to places like Guatemala and El Salvador. We have a whole team in Africa that did a mass training at a summit. Panama. So we really went all over the place, and young people that were excited about this, we donated headsets to them. They're about $300-400 a piece. We gifted them, and they could participate in that competition. And ultimately, we learned a lot from the upskilling, and I'm going to share those results with you now. So specifically, from a research perspective, and by the way, all of the research is published on our website, so you can actually go see all of the details. You can see videos of the work that was done. I'm going to highlight 3 research insights, okay? The first one is teachers told us this makes teaching fun again. Why? Because they have no resources in a low-income school. All of a sudden in a headset, they have an abundance of resources. They can create a supermarket, teach people how to make good decisions on purchasing products and healthy products. They can do anything they want in that environment, so their mindset went to abundance. And teachers actually told us, I'm kind of rejuvenated and excited about my profession again. This is a new tool that I didn't know existed that it can make me more effective at teaching. Students told us this makes learning fun again. Literally in these classrooms, the teachers' feedbacks were students were excited to get to class. They put on a headset and they create. They don't just consume, they actually create in these environments. That's what we teach them. I mentioned this before. The other learning was the whole exercise was more behavioral change than technical in terms of the implementation, as you can imagine. And this is the most important insight that we found in terms of an educational pedagogy for learning. Creating the environment is how students learn most effectively, meaning we didn't put them in a VR headset and said, watch this history lesson or the story about your country's history or about math or about geometry. That was very effective, by the way. But the way students really learned is the teacher would give them an assignment, like giving them a book report. But rather than the old school way of they do a book report, they write it out in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint and submit it to the teacher. Instead, the teacher said, do an assignment, but students, tell me what you learned by creating a story in virtual reality that you'll share with your classmates. And with PowerPoint skills only, no coding, they could create special effects and narratives, almost like creating theater in virtual reality, because that's where the technology, that's what we teach the students how to do. So the learning through experimentation, the learning through creation is the thing that students came out of that environment, said the fact that I had to use spatial memory to build an environment, to talk about how to go get a loan at a bank or about a geometry, it's now imprinted in my memory. I'll remember it because it was an experience. It wasn't just me passively reading about it. Does that make sense? So it was highly effective. Here are 2 case studies. I'm actually going to show you a video. It's virtual reality, so you have to assume if you're in VR, it'd be even more fantastic, but you're going to see it on a flat screen. But one subject that a school chose was we need to teach people about healthy living decisions and how to live longer, healthier, and what are some ways to do that on a budget, as well as how to manage monthly finances. So the teacher's instructions were research the subject, look on the internet, read information like you normally would, but produce what you learned by creating this environment. And here's what the students and teachers created around blue zones. I don't know if you're familiar with what a blue zone is. There's like 7 of them around the world where people live longer. That's what the class researched, and they created this environment around blue zones. And what you're seeing is they talk about what blue zones are, but then they actually have all the blue zones: Japan, Loma Linda, California, Sardinia, Italy, Greece, and you can go into the portal and you learn from the locals why they live healthier. That's what the students created. That's an asset the teacher can now use with other students, perhaps. But the students that created this came out of this saying, the fact that I had to create that environment was a better way to learn than me just reading about it and writing a book report about it or writing a report about it. Here's the financial literacy, where we gamified it, where they learn about taxes and they have to take money and give it to Uncle Sam and they have to figure out their income and then they have to go spend the money at a shopping center, buying a car, leasing an apartment, and they see how far that monthly income lasts them. So they experience the budgeting versus just reading about it. So the question is, what happens when you put generative AI? I want to give you an example of what we're now incorporating CHAT-GPT for. In these environments, you notice these placards that have information, all this detail. You can generate that with ChatGPT now. It was not useful time for the students in creating the environment to spend a lot of time on getting the script exactly right and the placards and the information sheets. They can generate that through ChatGPT. It would save a lot of time, especially if they're not a great writer yet. And they'll learn because ChatGPT will write a good, if you say, ChatGPT, tell me about taxes, which is what we asked ChatGPT to do, this is what ChatGPT spun out. And the request was, write me a 2-minute script that introduces taxes read by an 18-year-old college student to an audience of 14-year-olds. And then it gave a script. And the thing that was funny is this script is almost verbatim what we used a year ago to actually put out there. Do you see how that accelerates the process and the students then incorporate ChatGPT into the discussion? But they're creating the context of a bigger environment. What I'll end on is another example. I know this crowd is very familiar with the Jeopardy and IBM Watson, correct? So everyone knows what the Jeopardy game is because you're all AI fans and you know what Watson did with the 2 leaders. This was back in 2011. Jeopardy has columns, they have dollar amounts, they gamify it, you test your knowledge. We started to incorporate, and you have to ask it in the form of an answer, and it gives you the form of a question in Jeopardy. It's kind of this reverse logic, correct? So this is something we produced over a year ago where we test students when we build the experience for them around financial literacy. The students actually play Jeopardy, and we have to come up with the columns and the dollar figures, and we test the students' knowledge in Jeopardy. The students loved it, okay? Well, that took a lot of time for us to create that Jeopardy board. Not real useful time if you think about it. The experience was the useful time. So we went into ChatGPT and we said, ChatGPT, go to this website, Exponential Destiny, and create a Jeopardy board. That's all we put. This is real. ChatGPT went in and created all the categories and all the dollars. It produced almost immediately a Jeopardy board for us. A really good one, too. Off of all we did was put the website URL, okay? And then we started asking it questions. It says, you ready to play? Yes. Team members for $200. It puts an answer out there. He's the co-founder of Exponential Destiny, so it actually picked up from the website my information. And then my colleague typed in there, is he Marcus Shingles? And I like this part. It actually says, yes, you get $200, but you have to phrase it in the form of a question. So it actually corrected us on our prompt to put in the form of correction. But do you see how useful that was in that exercise? How it produced something in the environment that we were creating in VR? The last thing I'll share with you, and I'll end on this, okay, is this is the team from Africa that's one of the finalists in the VR competition from Rwanda. And because they're from Rwanda and had to deal with the genocide, they actually chose peace in institutions, and where government or people in power are abusing their power, and wanted to bring people through a real experience to showcase that. I'll let them speak for themselves.
Hello, virtual world. What's poppin'?
So 1 minute video.
Hello, my name is Inez Michaela. I'm 18 years old and I'm a senior at Trend Coding Academy. I'm also the team leader of the MetaDevs. I learned about the Metaverse competition through a friend who attended the official launch down in Kigali. When I heard about it, I was very curious because I am that person.
Hello, My name is Bibian Pushina. I'm aged 18 years old. I'm a senior software engineering student at Rwanda Coding Academy. Last year, when Exponential Destiny team came to Rwanda, Kigali, it's when I get much interested in it.
Hi there, I'm Shingles, a high school student from Rwanda Coding Academy. I joined the competition and I've enjoyed the journey so far.
Hey, my name is Melissa. I'm 17 years old. And then heard about the Metaverse for SDGs competition. We need just one more chance to do something for our communities. Can assert that our commitment and determination has given birth to a really exciting experience.
Our SDG of choice is SDG number 16, which is strong institutions, peace, and justice. And the reason why we chose this, it has a link to our country and its history, particularly the 1994 genocide, which made tremendous changes in our country. And with this, we thought we can help people make better choices through learning from history. So our solution embraces education in a very innovative way, whereby it helps people learn from historical events.
Our idea is centered around an interactive experience that invokes empathy and encourages people to see the impact of their choices. It also emphasizes the power of responsibility and accountability in positions of power.
Personally, as we done experiences in the metaverse, I realized one thing in real life. I developed an empathy for peace, justice, and some institutions which will help to improve our real world.
See you in the Metaverse!
This is an environment that you go through in VR. These students created this themselves with basic training that we gave them, like PowerPoint skills, okay? You go in and you observe people in power abusing their power, like a courtroom with a judge being bribed. Or you'll see here the courtroom scenario. You see police abuse. These are things that in real life they've experienced, that they're trying to bring empathy to others. And then you have to make a choice when you're done on what you would do, and it brings you in a different direction, like a game. Okay? And that was their submission for the competition. So you can see how excited students get in these environments and what they produce. I'm out of time. Thank you very much for everybody. Appreciate it.